Good day, IGCSE and BGCSE students. This is part 2 of the lesson that we talked about on the causes of the World War I in terms of the alliance system. If you remember from our last lesson, we were looking at the alliances that came before 1890. That is before 1890. That is before the resignation of Otto von Bismarck. And we shall now be talking about those alliances that now came in after the resignation of Otto von Bismarck, and see how it led to two armed camps that took place and were involved, as you can see from the map at the corner there. So let's get on to business. So remember that the last treaty that we talked about, or alliance, was the Secret Reinsurance Treaty. And I mentioned that the major alliance that was formed before the resignation of Otto von Bismarck was the Triple Alliance between Austria-Hungary, and Germany. So now we shall get on to the business of now the alliances that followed. But before I talk about and start on the alliances that followed, we have to now understand that why did Otto von Bismarck resign? So then, in around 1888, that is when now, because we had the Kaiser William I as the leader of Germany, he died, and there came in a new one, a new king with a winged arm, who was now looking for world domination, which they called world politique. And now we shall see the emergence of Kaiser William II and how it led to tensions between Otto von Bismarck and as well as between Otto von Bismarck and Kaiser William II. So we see that in 1888, when Kaiser William II came in, what happened was that he wanted world domination, and Otto von Bismarck was very, very scared and very much against his opinion, because he knew that this would spark a world war. But then Kaiser William II was much determined, and as such, we saw that Otto von Bismarck was forced to resign because his opinions, as well as the King of Germany's opinions, were against each other. As such, Otto von Bismarck resigned, and Kaiser William II took full control of military issues and economical issues that were in place. His objectives, as I said, were to dominate the world through his policy of world politique, and also to expand his colonies and rivalries to be compared to those of Britain. And so, because of that, when he came out, Kaiser William II, to show out or to tell the world what he wanted to do, he revealed too much, as we see that Russia now learned about the Dual Alliance and the Triple Alliance, and so that these people have been plotting against me. I should stop them. I should find a way now, because these are now my enemies. I have to find a friend. But then, remember what they say, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So Russia and France grew closer together. And in 1894, there was the signing of the Franco-Russo alliance, in which France and Russia signed an alliance. But this alliance was really against Germany, so that if any of them were to suffer an attack from Germany or from any power supported by Germany, both countries would help one another. And so we can see now that the alliances that had been formed after 1894, we are against the Triple Alliance. So from there, we saw that in 1902, now many of you may be asking, where is Britain? Come on, we know that Britain was in the World War. Where is she? What I can tell you is that before 1902, Britain had a policy of splendid isolation. She was there, around or landlocked around the sea, and she said, you know what, you go on, European states, I myself will only trade with you. Any interference or affairs with you, they are none of my concerns. And we saw that in 1902, however, after Britain learnt about the colonial ambitions of Kaiser William II, she realized that, okay, now I have to look for help. I have to find help. So she abandoned her policy of splendid isolation. And in 1902, she signed an alliance with the Japanese, which is known as the Anglo-Japanese Alliance in 1902. But then this alliance was just that Britain would now be involved, would help Japan on issues over Eastern Asia. And so we saw that, okay, so England and Japan France and Russia. And we see that in 1904, a very, very important alliance was signed, which was known as the Cordial Entente, which was between Britain and France. And we saw that, which was between Britain and France. And this alliance was normally of colonial interest that we see, because Britain was interested in expanding her colonies, as well as France. And because of that, they were drawn together in the Anglo-Franco alliance, which is known as the Cordial Entente properly. So as we continue, we also see that in the same year of 1907, we see that now we see that small triangle. Britain has an alliance with France. France has an alliance with Russia. So what happens? We saw that small triangle that had to be formed, but before that we had a full-on a treaty or alliance between these three countries. In 1907, Russia and Britain signed an alliance, which is known as the Anglo-Russo Alliance. And because we see the small triangle here, it was inevitable that we would see the formation of what we call the Triple Alliance in 1907, where these countries came together now, but it is for mutual benefit. It wasn't much of a military alliance, they say. So we had the Triple Entente, which is between Britain, France, and Russia. And we see now this development in big armed camp, which is now against the Triple Alliance. So we can realize from something here, from this alliance system, there was a lot of tension that took place. Tension between countries, between these two armed camps. And also, the alliance system influence some countries, especially weak countries like Austria-Hungary, to act recklessly. We will learn more about that during the time of the spark of the war, whereby we saw now Austria-Hungary acting recklessly and declaring war on Serbia. We will now see how the alliance system played a huge role in that taking place. And we also see how the alliance system as well created some issues that were going on. The Moroccan crisis, which are the first and the second, the Tangier and the Agadir crisis, the arms race, colonial rivalry, war plans, and you shall learn more about that in our sessions. But we can see from the alliance system, there was a lot of tension that was created, a lot of suspicion. Weak countries were now able to act recklessly because they knew that we've got the big dogs behind us. That is why Austria-Hungary was able to act recklessly. It knew that we have Germany, the country, European state that had the most powerful army. So join me in my next video when we will be looking at the other causes of the World War I, which is the arms race and the colonial rivalry. Thank you.